I spent years believing that exhaustion was a badge of honor. I thought if I just climbed high enough, I'd finally be allowed to breathe. But the higher I climbed, the less air there was. I was pushing myself into an early grave because I was trapped in a system that just cared about my output. I was chasing a programmed dream, climbing the ladder as fast as I could, doing the work of 3 people, and ending every single day too exhausted to actually live. The system conditions us to fear instability more than we fear a slow death. We stay in toxic environments because we've been taught that a slow decline in our health is a fair trade for the safety of a paycheck, and that's right where I was at. I was on a performance treadmill where the goalposts always moved. It was like a trauma bond with the grind. When you're in survival mode, your brain prioritizes the immediate threats of, say, losing your status or your house over the long-term threat of your body shutting down. And that's right where I was at. And I've realized that there are 3 main psychological traps that keep us there, that kept me there. I think the sunk cost fallacy is one of the biggest one. I looked at the years of schooling and the years of slogging to get the job and the years working my way up. And I thought leaving meant those years were wasted. So I doubled down on misery just to make them mean something. Normalised trauma. When everyone around you is moody and exhausted and dreading Monday, you tend to think this is just what adulthood feels like, and you can go through that motion for years, and I did. You lose the benchmark for what a healthy nervous system even feels like. The replaceable fear, the thing that is almost drilled into you from the beginning. We know we're just cogs in a machine. We know we're replaceable, and when you believe you're replaceable, you stop believing you have the power to walk away and build something different. And even when the hours are manageable, the emotional toxicity that comes with a lot of workplaces, and oftentimes the lack of integrity, it keeps your body in a state of inflammation. Your gut, our second brain, it feels the threat long before your logical mind admits it. That's exactly where I was at. And pushing through is not a virtue, it's self-betrayal. I didn't realize how deep I was in it until my body started collapsing. I thought I was just tired. I was running on caffeine, which is not like me. And I was on edge all the time. I had a constant pit in my stomach. And I kept telling myself this was normal. This is just what you go through when you're trying to, rise higher and, get those pay rises. And, it wasn't normal. And the hardest part to admit is that I knew something was wrong, but I stayed anyway, because leaving felt scarier than slowly destroying myself. We aren't weak for burning out. We're conditioned to stay long after we should have left. And it wasn't until my body started to completely shut down that I finally walked away. And when I finally reached my breaking point, the company's response wasn't concern at all. It was complete inconvenience. They made it clear that I was replaceable. They could replace me in no time if I couldn't hack the job, which were incredibly long hours and the work of more than one, both of which were unreasonable. And I was being paid well, but I wasn't being properly compensated for the amount of work I was doing, the work of multiple people, and the amount of hours that I was putting in on a regular basis. And I thought, I had spent years trading my health for a system, a companies, a job that didn't even see me as a person. I was simply output. That's all I was just output. And I had had enough. My mind, my body, my soul. My body was just completely shutting down at this point. And And after my last hospital visit, due to severe, extreme stress and burnout, I was told I would be unlikely to see the year out at this point if something didn't drastically change and very quickly. So in the next video, I'm sharing the reality of what happens to a body when it finally begins to stop, and how I began the slow process of deprogramming from the program dream to build a life that actually feels like I'm living. Some days can be hard and challenging, like today, but I'm choosing to be here in the messy middle instead of back on that treadmill. If you're also trying to find your way out of the programmed dream, you're welcome to pull up a chair here with me. I post these deeper talks on Wednesdays, and then on Sundays I share a slow reset, just the quiet, intentional moments of finding peace and calm in the ordinary, whether that's here, rebuilding my sanctuary, or out in the world. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time.